What's the extradition law and why is it provoking such a ruckus?
Baby, I don't understand this. You're changing, I can't stand it.
Hello my fellow viewers. Today's video is going to be completely different from what I normally do. As you can see in the title, I am going to talk about an ongoing event happening in East Asia. Hong Kong has seen the biggest protests since its handover from the UK to China in 1997. The reason why I chose this topic is because as of lately, images and videos of protests are all over the internet. Every news channel, even Time magazine was mentioning it. Big masses were walking down the street towards the authority. Amidst the crowd, you could see violence, people in distress, protesters and the police were both wounded. It was all happening live and the more footages were being shared, the more it piqued my interest.
You can see the protesters have just broken through the barrier. They're surrounding the legislative building there.
If you came here because you're curious and you don't understand what this whole thing is about, we will try and dismantle this matter together. Now, before we go in, I'll explain a short backstory of Hong Kong and its relationship with China, and then we're going to go straight with what's been going on and what this extradition law is about. This will help you understand the dynamic between the two. It might get boring, so you can skip this part and directly go to Hong Kong. Hong Kong. Where is Hong Kong? Hong Kong is located in the continent of Asia and is a territory of China and shares land borders with only China. Hong Kong has always been an immigrant community, and Chinese from other parts of China have also settled there. In 2019, its population is at 7.49 million. This is the flag of Hong Kong. The territory's official languages are Mandarin and English. However, Hong Kongers speak Cantonese.
食屎啊你！我鬼望你下世都拜業，兼且做雞，你性無能啊！到只拜雞，性無能，拜雞。
China's Opium War. This is where it gets heavy, so make sure you grab some snacks and a drink. Let's go back to the 19th century. During that era, Britain has an immense interest for tea. Under the Qing dynasty, the Chinese demanded that the British pay its tea in exchange of silver or gold.
Lovely. It's not everyone who can make a good cup of tea.
However, Britain's reserves of gold and silver has its limit, and the tea importation tax generated during the transactions was a major percentage of British economy. So they decided to import opium from the British colonized Indian subcontinent to China. This is where shit goes down. I am talking about the opium wars that are about to come. China was experiencing an opium crisis. The amount of opium imported into China increased from about 200 chests annually in 1729 to roughly 1,000 chests in 1767, and then to about 10,000 per year between 1820 and 1830. Its military forces suffered direct impacts from their addiction because opium is a narcotic, which is a chemical substance that can induce in both humans and animals a state close to sleep and numbing sensitivity. First War of Opium, 1839-1842. Banning opium imports did not work. Private traders who were licensed by the East India Company smuggled the drug into China. So, the Qing dynasty took matters into their own hands. 20,000 chests of opium were destroyed by Chinese officials in June 1839. This provoked Britain to declare war in order to protect its illegal drug smuggling operations. Hong Kong is ceded, and the island of Hong Kong was occupied in 1841, using it as a military staging point. Unfortunately, China lost the war and had to cede Hong Kong to Britain in the Treaty of Nanking. As a result, Hong Kong became a crown colony of the British Empire. Second Opium War, 1856-1860. However, that treaty did not resolve the opium trade dispute and escalated into the Second Opium War.
Round 2. Fight!
In 1898, in order to end the war, the conflict was then settled in the First Convention of Peking, where the British signed a deal with the Chinese to lease Hong Kong and other territories. The lease was to last 99 years. 1997, the handover. In 1984, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and Premier Charles Ziyang signed a Sino-British joint declaration. It was agreed that Hong Kong would be returned to China when the lease expires, which brings us to July 1st, 1997. Hong Kong today. Hong Kong is a special administrative region of People's Republic of China. In other words, Hong Kong is allowed to operate with a high degree of autonomy. Hong Kong has a long tradition of operating under capitalistic economy ruled by the British government. That includes having its own elected government leaders, capitalistic economic system, executive, legislative, and judicial system. Issues its own passport, has its own currency, the Hong Kong dollars, in contrast to the communist socialistic system of China. People born in the SAR have dual citizenship of both the special territory and China. The only thing that an SAR doesn't have is an army. Military defense is provided by China. For those that skipped the first part, this is the segment you came for. What's the extradition law and why is it provoking such a ruckus? This bill will simplify case-by-case extraditions of criminal suspects that includes foreigners, Chinese living in Hong Kong, and of course, Hong Kongers. Why is it happening now? The government of Hong Kong first launched the proposals of the extradition bill in February. The chief executive of Hong Kong, Carrie Lam, says the law is needed for cases such as that of a Hong Kong man currently wanted for murder in Taiwan. She has assured Hong Kong court will review each extradition's request and political crimes will not be covered by the law.
We were told, we received feedback that these additional measures are effective in addressing the concerns of the stakeholders. And we will continue to do so. So there's no question of us ignoring views expressed in society. But Hong Kong has to move on. There are severe deficiencies and gaps in our existing system to deal with cross-border crimes and transnational crimes.
Why is this such a controversy? Hong Kong residents fear the law will be used by China to pressure Hong Kong to extradite political activists. Someone who says anything negative about China can't be in the free judicial system of Hong Kong. Here is a short clip of Claudia Mo, a Hong Kong journalist, politician, and a member of Hong Kong Legislative Council.
It doesn't make sense. Carrie Lam is a liar. I mean, what's the hurry? We've been waiting for more than 20 years. Why suddenly such a hurry? It shows that she's a Beijing puppet. She's just doing what her Beijing boss tells her to do. We don't have any confidence, we don't have any trust in China's rule of law, or rather the lack of it.
Another concern is that those extradited brought to China would be subject to a legal system which human rights groups say that they use torture, arbitrary detentions, and unfair trials. Here's a clip of a protester that has similar concern.
大陸嘅司法制度其實都唔係太可信，咁就亦都對呢個香港人就造成一啲不必要嘅恐慌，亦都係對我哋係好唔公平。
But then again, there's an argument that says countries like Spain or France have handed over suspects to China. So why can't Hong Kong follow the same path as them? Which Claudia Mo responds with,
No, that's a completely different picture. When you talk about something between France and China, you're talking about something bilateral, nation to nation.
Right, because Hong Kong is still politically part of China.
After the passage of this particular law, people here would probably need to think whatever you have to say, what you do, you need to think of repercussions. And it's the fear, indeed. It is the fear. Fear is a trade. Basically, it's China that's trying to get this chilling effect around the society. We will lose the freedom to just speak our minds.
China's response. Geng Shuang, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesman, has said China firmly supports the Hong Kong government's plans to change the extradition law.
I want to stress 2 points. First, the central government will continue to firmly support the government of Hong Kong Special Administrative Region on the amendments to the Hong Kong SAR's Fugitive Offenders Ordinance and Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters Ordinance. Second, we sternly oppose any interference in its legislative process by any foreign forces.
Hong Kong Police Force supporters. South China Morning Post published a video showing a rally in support of the Hong Kong Police Force that has taken place near the city's legislative complex on June 30th, 2019. Police supporters and former officers show their support to counter weeks of animosity towards Hong Kong police.
我哋已經上咗70幾歲嘅，個個都有啲差唔多接近80歲，都嚟支撐警隊。我哋嘅精神，希望所有警察咧繼續努力為香港服務，去維護呢個法紀。
撐警隊，撐警隊！
嗰啲所謂學生揸住啲磚頭咁大嚿掟我哋嘅警察，所以咧我就嚟呢度，希望我哋香港明日會更加好。
When asked about not having any faith in the Chinese authorities when it comes to the judicial system, for example, 2 Canadians who've been arrested on politically motivated charges in order to hit Canada back for their arrest of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou.
One of the things that we see increasingly around the world is that the Chinese government is not following the same kinds of rules and principles that the large majority of democracies follow in regards to rules-based order and in regards to international relations. We will consistently and always stand up for Canadians, particularly these Canadians who've been arbitrarily detained, but we will also make it very clear that we're not going to change our values or our systems, including the independence of our justice system.
This is what Victor Gao, a Chinese international relations expert, had to say.
Allow me to make a very quick point. If you look at different countries in the world, there are always problems. In China, as I mentioned, there are problems. Our task is to really identify the problem and get the problems resolved and improved, rather than weaning and whining and bark at the wrong tree. Hong Kong, whatever it is part of China. And mainland China does not need to do anything but to declare that by 2049, Hong Kong will no longer be a special administrative region. Hong Kong will be just one of the cities in China. Then whatever you are complaining about will be dealt with very effectively. Therefore, the task is for people in Hong Kong to really wake up to the fact that Hong Kong is part of China, and let's work together to get the problem solved.
On June 15, Carrie Lam decided that she would indefinitely suspend a bill that would allow extraditions to mainland China.
After our repeated internal deliberations over the last 2 days, I now announce that the government has decided to suspend the legislative amendment exercise, restart our communication with all sectors of society, do more explanation work, and listen to different views of society. I feel deep sorrow and regret that the deficiencies in our work and various other factors have stirred up substantial controversies and dispute in society following the relatively calm periods of the past 2 years, disappointing many people. We will adopt the most sincere and humble attitude to accept criticisms and make improvements so that we can continue to connect with the people of Hong Kong.
No evil law!
No evil law!
Carrie Lam, step down!
Carrie Lam, step down!
Carrie Lam has lost all credibility. Her so-called the commitment here, it's completely lacking in sincerity. If she refuses to withdraw, to scrap this controversial bill altogether, it would mean we wouldn't retreat. She must release everyone that's been arrested in relation to what happened Wednesday.
All of this information is from sources that I've gathered so far from international news and other YouTube channels. I will be putting everything down in the description box below. Also, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions about the subject. Do you think China will use military force to push forward this bill? Or do you think the pro-democracy protester will succeed in convincing the government of Hong Kong to abandon the project? Like this video if you enjoyed this type of content, subscribe to see more, and turn on your notification bell so that you won't miss anything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.